Hello viewers, welcome to Diagnostics Duo here. Today we have a 2014 Mercedes Sprinter with a 2.1 liter. The customer complaint is that the air conditioning stopped working. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go inside the van and confirm the customer's complaint. So let's go inside the van and confirm the customer's complaint. So let's confirm the customer's complaint. I'm going to start the van. And as you guys could hear, the van is running. So now let's turn the air conditioning on. So there's the AC button here that I'm gonna have to press. So I'm gonna increase the blower motor speed. So I hope you guys can hear this blower motor blowing air through this vent. The air conditioning should be on right now, and I'm not feeling any cold air coming out of this vent. So I'm going to use this thermometer here to show you guys the temperature, that's the air temperature on this vent. So right there, as you guys could see, we are reading about 86.9 degree Fahrenheit. So pretty much room temperature, okay? So that's just the ambient temperature right there. The air conditioning is not working. So let's measure the temperature on this vent. Pretty much the same thing. Let's try the other vent out there. Basically same temperature. So right here, customer's complaint confirmed. So the AC is not working. So let me turn it off. And let's turn off the car so we can talk about our diagnosis process. So after confirming the customer's complaint, now let's come up with a plan of attack. Okay, what's the procedure? How are we gonna tackle this? So this is what we're gonna do. There are a couple ways you can go about this. There isn't one specific way. Right now at this point, I would either connect the scan tool to the car and read the air conditioning control unit and see if there are any trouble codes in memory there, or you can go under the hood first and see if we have any refrigerant in the system. So let's stay low key first. I'm not gonna connect the scan tool to the car. Let's stay low key. Let's go under the hood and see if we have any refrigerant in the air conditioning system. So let's go under the hood and check that. Alright guys, so we are here under the hood and we're about to do our checks. I am going to use this Robinair AC machine to check the refrigerant inside the AC system. Obviously, if you don't have any refrigerant in the AC system, your air conditioning is not going to work. It's as simple as that. And also, before you even check the refrigerant, if you want, you can start by checking the belt of the AC compressor. I already checked the belt on this one. The belt looks fine and it's tight. So the AC compressor is definitely being driven by the engine crankshaft. So the belt looks fine. So we are going to locate our service ports here. And this van, I don't know if I said that already, it's got two AC compressors and two different AC systems. So the AC system for the front is the one up here, and the service ports are right here behind the air filter box. And then there's another AC compressor on the passenger side, and the service ports are somewhere down there, and those are for the passenger compartment, for the secondary AC unit. So our service ports are right here. So I hope you guys can see them. It's kind of tough to show you back there, but I'm going to remove, so this cap right here, this is one of the service ports. It looks like this is the low side port. I'm going to remove that. And I'm going to connect my blue line to the low side. So blue is for the low side. Alright, so I got that one connected to the low side. So now let's do the high side, which is the port next to it. The high side is actually the bigger port. If you see this one, this is slightly bigger than the low side. So the high side is going to be the red one. So let's undo this knob first. Let's undo it all the way. And now alright, so right there we got the low side and the high side AC machine lines connected to our service ports. Okay, so now what we need to do is turn on the AC machine. Actually, no, let's do it differently. Before turning on the AC machine, because I was gonna turn on the AC machine and pretty much recover all the refrigerant that we have in the system to see how much refrigerant we have in there and then put it back. But before we do that, let me close these knobs first. Okay, let's push in the valves to see if we have any refrigerant, because as I'm doing this, our gauges should go up. And right here, as you could see, we're reading about around 85 pounds of pressure on the low side. Okay, and so right here we're still reading 0 on the high side. The gauge on the high side is still reading 0 because the valve, the knob is still open. We haven't closed it yet, so the knob hasn't pushed the shredder valve on the service port yet. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this knob. So as we do this, so we're going to allow refrigerant to flow through this line and into the machine. So now our high pressure gauge should read pretty much the same pressure as the low side right here. Okay, we're reading around 80 pounds of pressure. So we definitely have refrigerant in the system. So this system is not empty, and this can mean the right amount or the incorrect amount. But just looking at the pressures we have some type of refrigerant inside the system. So now let's go under the vent and look at the compressor. Let's see if we're gonna find any obvious signs of damage or anything that's gonna catch our attention around the compressor itself. So let's go under the vent and look at the compressor. Alright, so we are here under the vent, and this is our primary AC compressor. We do have 2 AC compressors on this vent. This is the AC compressor that actually controls the primary system, which is the front AC system. And then there's another one down here. This is the secondary AC compressor for the passenger compartment. This is the one that controls the secondary AC unit on the roof. And as you can see, this one has a clutch here that get engaged, that opens and closes. But contrary to this one, alright, so this one here doesn't have a clutch in front of it, in front of the AC compressor pulley. So this is a variable displacement compressor. This has got a swash plate inside the compressor that kind of wobbles. When this actuator here gets energized, it changes the position of the piston, which actually energizes the compressor, so it charges the system to make the air conditioning work. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to look for command coming from the air conditioning control module. Because we have refrigerant inside the system, we don't know exactly if it's the right amount, but we have refrigerant in the system. So this can be caused by a couple of things. The problem we're experiencing, it could be the compressor itself is defective, or maybe one of the pressure switches is not working, not telling the compressor AC unit what's going on in the system or the amount of refrigerant we have in the system. That can cause the AC control unit to shut down the whole AC system. So what we need to do, we are going to back probe these 2 wires to see if we're getting any control coming from the air conditioning control module. So I'm gonna back probe this. Up there is the electrical connector for the AC compressor, So the wire just makes a loop. You know, this one is a ground, the black one is a ground, and this red one is some type of controlled voltage. Okay, so I'm gonna use this piercing tool to pierce this wire so we can tap into it and see. So we're gonna scope this and see what we're gonna find. All right, so we just back probed those two wires, the black wire and the red wire. So now let's get out of here and go to the lab scope. We're going to start the car and turn on the AC. So we should get a command here, you know, at these wires. We should have some type of command coming from the air conditioning control module. So if we have a command here and we know that we have refrigerant in the system, what do you think the issue is going to be? I will let you guess while I get out and look at the lab scope. So let's get out and see what we're going to find. Alright, so I'm back inside the van. So let's set up our lab scope before we start the van. Let's go to lab scope, 4-channel lab scope. So I'm using my first two channels. So the yellow trace and the green trace. So now let's start the van and turn on the air conditioning. So right there, I just turned on the air conditioning, and as you can see, we have a command right here on that red wire, because the red wire is our yellow trace and then the black wire is our green trace, which is supposed to be a ground. Let's see if we can read. Let's see if we can get some digital numbers here. So right here with the vehicle running, we are reading about 0.09 volts on the ground. So right there, this is the command that's actually getting to the compressor, and we are not feeling any cold air coming from one of these vents. So if we had a very low amount of refrigerant in the system, this command here would vary, because the computer would get a reading of the pressure from the pressure switch, and the signal, the command wouldn't look like this. And the other thing I'm also thinking about with this command we are seeing on the scope, this kind of gets the pressure switch out of the way. Our pressure switch is good, because if our pressure switch were bad, if it was reporting a wrong signal to the ECU, to the AC ECU, the AC ECU wouldn't be able to turn on the compressor, because the compressor is definitely being commanded on right now, and our air conditioning is definitely not working. So if we have refrigerant in the system, we have a command coming from the computer, and our AC system is still not working. So what do you think the issue is? Yes, the issue is the AC condenser. No, that's not the issue, ding dong. You guessed it right. Your first guess was great. The issue is the AC compressor. The AC compressor is definitely defective on this. The AC compressor is not working anymore. It's just as simple as that. With this command we're getting, with the refrigerant we have in the system, we should have cold air blowing right now. Okay, so let's turn off the car. Let me turn the key on and turn the AC on and see what happens. So right there, with the key on, AC on, right there. There's no command on the scope, but once I start the car, just wait for it. And right there. Okay, so the computer is commanding the the AC compressor on. Okay. Guys, with all these tests we just did, these quick dirty tests, I feel comfortable calling for the compressor on this one. I know you might have a question about the amount of refrigerant we have in the system. I can actually recover it and show you how much refrigerant comes out of it, but I firmly believe that this AC compressor is defective. So let's go back under the hood, and basically, now that we have confirmed that the AC compressor is defective, the next step is going to be removing this AC compressor and replacing it with a new one, right? But before we do that, we have to recover the refrigerant that's in the system first. So let's go under the hood and suck all the refrigerant out of the system with the machine. So let's go under the hood. All right, so the command we saw on the lab scope basically told us that on the electrical side of the AC system, everything is looking just fine. We got the command at the compressor, and we most likely have the right amount of refrigerant because I'm not suspecting a leak. If we had a leak, our gauges wouldn't be reading this pressure right here. Okay, we are reading about 85 pounds of pressure, like I said. And if we look closely here, there's a little sticker here that tells us the amount of refrigerant that this system is supposed to have. Right, the front unit is supposed to have 1.76 pound. Okay, so knowing that our problem is the AC compressor, we're going to recover the refrigerant from the system, and we'll see how much refrigerant is going to come out of the system. And I'm sure it's basically going to be close to that amount we just saw on that sticker. So at this point, whatever I'm doing here right now is not really necessary. You can go ahead and recover the system and replace your AC compressor, because if you have refrigerant in the system and you have the control from the computer, and if your air conditioning system is still not working, your problem is your compressor. No questions about it. So let's hit recover, because right here we definitely have pressure in both systems, the low and the high. So let's recover the refrigerant in the system. Alright, so I am not gonna stand here and wait for this thing to suck all the refrigerant out of the system. I am going to turn off the camera, and then I'll bring you guys back up once the machine is finished recovering all the refrigerant from the system. Alright, so our AC machine is done recovering the refrigerant from the system, and let's see how much refrigerant came out of this. I'm sorry for the glare, guys. And as you guys can see, our refrigerant in the system was 1.129 pound. Okay, so we had at least 1 pound of refrigerant in the system, 1.1. So which is enough. I mean, it's slightly low, but not really low to cause the system to not work completely. Okay, because our sticker here on the vehicle says that the right amount is 1.76 pound. All right, so that's slightly low, but nothing too crazy. I mean, our AC system would have worked, okay, if the issue was just a refrigerant. So I feel comfortable calling for a compressor on this one. So I'm gonna turn off our AC machine. So right there, we just saw the amount of refrigerant that came out of here. So let's press this green button. And now our AC system, the front AC system, is empty right now. So let's turn this machine off. And now I will show you how we can remove this AC compressor. So let's go back under the van and I'll show you how to remove the compressor. So I'm back here under the vehicle, and I'm not gonna show you the removal process of this AC compressor. It's pretty straightforward, really easy to do, guys. So basically what you need to do, you have to remove the belt first. and you remove the belt by undoing the tensioner. I don't know if I can show you the tensioner back here. It's really tough to show you. That's why I decided not filming what I'm about to do. So up there is the serpentine belt tensioner. I don't know if you can see that pulley over there. So that pulley, that's the tensioner. So you have to move it to the left to actually get the tension off the belt, so you can remove the belt. So once you get the belt removed, the next step is going to be removing the AC lines, okay? The suction line and the discharge line. These two lines up here. I'll show you these lines from the top. So once you get the lines removed, and then the last step is going to be basically disconnecting the electrical connector. You disconnect the electrical connector, and then you're gonna disconnect the that one electrical connector, just that one connector. And then the next step is going to be undoing this compressor bolt. So there's this one over here. There's another one up there. There are star bolts. So there's this one, and then there's a third one back here. So this bolt. So once you undo all these 3 bolts, the AC compressor is going to come out. And these are star bolts, okay? 3 bolts for the AC compressor. Once you undo all of them, you should be able to remove the AC compressor. So let's go back up so I can show you the discharge and the charge line, the AC lines on the compressor that I was talking about. All right, so here are the AC lines. So there's this line and that one. They are both 2, looks like torque bolts. This one and that one over there. So once you undo these 2 AC lines, you remove them, and then you're gonna undo the bolts that hold the AC compressor against the engine block, and then your AC compressor should come out. So I'm gonna do that, and then I'll bring you guys back up. Alright guys, so I'm gonna show you the new AC compressor, and right there I just installed the new compressor right there, and I already charged the AC system. So now let's go in the van and verify our repair. Alright, so I'm back in the van. So now I'm gonna start it so we can check the AC system. Oh, I feel the difference already. So now let's use our thermometer here to take the temperature of this vent. So we just started it and we were reading about 68 degrees. And before we were reading 89, 86, between 86 and 89 degrees. And we just started it. And once we start driving, it's gonna get colder. So I believe this is gonna drop down, see? It's already dropping now, it's like 58. So, this is fixed, as you guys can see. Oh, it feels so good. I just wanna stay in here. So I'm going to turn this off so we can wrap up this video. Awesome. So I will leave it right here. I hope you like this video. I hope you like this quick and dirty method of testing a AC compressor. So I'm gonna leave it right here. If you have any comments, questions, leave them in the comment box. If this is your first time here, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Ring the bell so you can get notified every time I upload a new video. Thanks for watching. See you next time.